Okay. Round one with blue at control. Oh yes, this is a keeper. So we get to mana tithe, like an early play. I don't know if I need that. Oh, mulliganing Ghastly Lantern. They're not very fun to play with in the modern queues there. All right, so keeping up mana tithe, and maybe they'll play Dark Ritual. Top, yeah. I like to fire off mana tithe on basically anything because it loses its luster later in the game. I also don't like my opponent digging for things. So it's not bad. So, okay, we'll play this island. And we got nothing up for this turn. So, worry about things like Mesmeric Fiend or... Okay. So, cool. So, now we're going to go ahead and cast this. And we'll just keep up our counterspell because we don't have anything in mind for the Basalt Monolith. Hopefully they'll play something that is worth. Jace Friend's Prodigy. You know what? That we can deal with a variety of ways. So I think we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna let that slide. That seems fine. We might be able to deal with that before it becomes a real problem. Okay. And I think letting the opponent dig so that so that we can find answers, or letting the opponent dig for something is a little dangerous. But I also would prefer, because we are very answer heavy, to be able to only use it on. All right, so for instance, they just discarded an Inkwell Leviathan, so that's like super impossible for us to deal with. Thoughtseize, man. Oh no, we're gonna. Oh no, actually, okay. So we're gonna counterspell Thoughtseize, because we really need Council's Judgment against Inkwell Leviathan. So we're gonna go. Okay, so we could. An interesting question. So we don't have any instant speed removal here. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna put this into. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So I'm gonna. No, I wouldn't. And then I'm gonna go ahead and O-ring Jace. It's probably so if we're on Reanimator, if that's what we're on, because it's sometimes we're just on blue black control. I really don't want them to be able to put anything else in the graveyard, because our Council's Judgment deals with Inkwell Leviathan. It's one of the like very few things that deals with it, and I'm sure that from their perspective, they think I'm like 1% to be able to deal with this thing. I'm just gonna die. So it's a 4-drop. Nothing particularly impressive. Could play like Gleneldra Archmage, and that would be kind of annoying. Alright, so they've decided that it is not worth it. Probably think I might have Spell Pierce. Cool, now we have Cryptic up, which is awesome. So what do we got here? For 4, 5 black mana. Burial Rites. So I think I'm just gonna let that happen. So I could counter. Yeah, I'm just gonna let it happen. because like I'm gonna Council's Judgment this. Yeah, definitely gonna do that. And if I draw a land, oh, okay. So the unfortunate part here. So can I? 1, 2, 3, 4. So unfortunately, I can't Council's Judgment and keep up Cryptic, which is a little scary. But I can always bounce whatever they play the next turn, and that's okay. And there we go. So the question is, do I bluff as if I have more interaction, or do I just play Basalt Monolith because I don't have interaction? I think I go ahead and just play my hand, assuming nothing else, because we could end up with like a big Sphinx's Revelation the next turn. And the reality is that it really wouldn't change anything. Like the only thing that I can do is if they reanimate something with Unburial. Well, they can't flash back Unburial Rites yet. Dark Petition. Right. So so I don't know. I mean, I guess they could get Gifts Ungiven. Buried Alive. All right. I like Buried Alive because it forces your opponent to show all of their targets. Like, okay, right. So Sphinx and Ulamog. They only chose 2, huh? Yeah, looks like it. So maybe they only have 3? There we go. So couldn't really ask for a much better draw. Yep, I am happy as a clam here. So their Verdant Catacombs might go and get. So what do we got? Phyrexian Metamorph. That's fine. Assume it'll be a target. All right, your own Basalt Monolith. That's okay. Because I can go ahead. Putrid Imp, also fine. And I'm going to go ahead and disenchant this on the assumption that it had some role to play. Which is fine. Okay. And there we go. What did you discard? Nothing of note. So still waiting on that white source for Burial Rites. Is Mirror Fiend. Now that's an interesting one. You 0 cards in hand. Could go ahead and Reflector Mage it next turn, or they could take a Reflector Mage and know that I have Cryptic. It's a tough one. I'm gonna counter it. Because I think Reflector Mage does a good enough job. And I'd prefer them not to know my one card. And if we draw into anything, I think we're pretty solid, yeah. So for instance, Sword to Plowshares might as well have been Cryptic Command. Right. Okay, so answers all day long. So we're sitting pretty here. Exhume. Do I have a creature in my graveyard? No. Okay. That's fine. I guess it's gonna be Sphinx. Like that'd be my guess. Unless they're greedy and they're gonna go for Ulamog. Like Sphinx is the one that gets me dead quickest. Yep. So I'm definitely gonna sword set. There you go. Bring them up to 29. All right, there we go. Consecrated Sphinx. That's what I want to see. I think I'm gonna go ahead and tap that. And there we go. So yes, indeed. Grim Tutor. Sounds good. So I really don't want to. I'm glad we drew into Path of Exile because I super duper don't want to run out Day of Judgment. So Recurring Nightmare. That's an interesting one. So actually, Path to Exile plays with this deck really well. Because it turns it off. Yep, that's great. Okay. Right. So what does it have? Protection from red and green. Right. Great. Okay. Oh, it's not Magistrate Sphinx. It's Sphinx and Steelwind. I guess that makes sense. Okay. So you can go ahead and get that Plains if you got it. And oh, no Plains, huh? Sad. All right. There we go. Face Fetters. Okay. Swinging with the team. Like that. Into turn, we have to remember to untap Basalt Monolith. Yep. Recurring Nightmare. Fine. getting it ready. Yep. Okay. So, swords, interesting. Linvala actually works as a fun little sideboard tech against things like Putrid Imp, but I think that's getting a little cute, maybe. I don't think we're going to end up discarding cards to balance in this matchup, I think, pretty clearly. So, not a good idea. I'm not sure if I really want anything different. That worked out pretty darn well. I guess we could put in Mirren Crusader just to try to leverage our win a little bit more over Soulfire Grandmaster, because yeah. And if we just cast it, they might just die. Sometimes Mirren Crusader is like mini Geist of St. Traft. So we saw Inkwell Leviathan, Sphinx of the Magistrate, and Ulamog. And because a lot of our removal exiles, that works in extreme favor against our opponent. Especially if they're trying to screw around with Recurring Nightmare. We could get into trouble. These Mesmeric Fiends can be a real problem. I guess we could have. It may have been correct on a separate thought to be able to take out Mana Tithe on the draw, because it's not going to be quite as good. Our opponent may have had a very, very different game if we would have let Jace be active, and if they would have been able to dig with Sensei's Dividing Top. They could have been faster than our plan. Opponent is either disconnected or not paying attention. Probably going to go in and edit all of this out because it's taking forever. Here we go. Okay. Now this is a keep. We get to have Path to Exile up. Oh yeah. This is crazy. Excuse my chewing. So let's see. All right. Yeah, this is beautiful. So we didn't pick up Tundra, which actually makes this kind of awkward. Because we would very much like double blue. Okay, that's fine. So this gives us a reason to go get white. So we go get white-black to be able to keep up DT. Because I don't think we picked up... If we picked up Hollowed Fountain, I would err on the side of not caring whether or not we draw our splash. But... Right, so we're going to go ahead and take Godless Shrine. Yeah. Do that. We'll go ahead and wait and we'll swords it. And there we go. Oh, and there's our other white. So what are you going to do? Probably should have taken the 2 blue. So we're going to just take our own Jace here. Our hand's very redundant. So Thoughtseize actually is not that big of a deal. So go ahead and Jace. And it's kind of interesting. So I really like Disenchant. It's almost the right answer is to get rid of the dig through time, but that is probably not the right answer. I can't cast Counterspell right now, but again, all of these things are great. I think Disenchant is the most, replaceable. So, and then on the end of my opponent's turn, we'll go ahead and thirst. All right, and ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to just discard Basalt Monolith. Cool. Man, I strongly would like to just slam, yeah. Okay. So I'm definitely going to do this. Right. So we'll discard, discard Ponder. We'll tick up Jace, right? Because we don't have anything decent in here, right? No. Tick up Jace. And slam Mirren Crusader. We are on a really tough, our opponent is in a really tough spot. I think we're just gonna end up riding this to victory. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna tick him up, because what else is gonna happen? what does this do? I see, not what I want to do. So I guess we should minus to ponder. I don't know. Do I want to minus to ponder? Do I want to minus to? I don't know, minus to anything. Just gonna tick them up. This is like pretty clearly a very difficult position for my opponent to come back from. So I'm gonna have to screw up to lose. Like end of this turn, I'll go ahead. I could dig through time, keeping swords, and probably disenchant. Yeah. Okay. Because they try to do anything, and I would have already DT'd, but I want to keep my counterspell mana up. All right, so I'll go ahead and dig through time, blue. Right, and so we'll take Salt Monolith, Flood Strand, and Ponder. Okay. So what do we want out of this? Definitely want Council's Judgment and Sphinx's Rib. Yeah. Any order, whatever. Okay. Okay. So go ahead. Swing. All right. Go ahead and cast this Azorius Signet. Take up Jace again. Like, what is my opponent? I guess my opponent just has like a bunch of monsters in their hand, like, with no way of dealing with it. Like, they were gonna use Jace. They kept the hand based on the idea that they would be able to keep Jace and start discarding and drawing, and it just didn't happen. Or they have a bunch of removal that just like doesn't do anything against Mirror Crusader, which is also a possibility. So, and they're discarding. Okay, right. So here's my blue mana. Take up Jace again. Yeah, I'm definitely never doing that. So okay. Da-da-da-da. Let's keep taking up Jace. So very likely, my opponent will try to reanimate Ulamog in some manner. And then I'm gonna... It's kind of an interesting question, like... I could deal with it any number of ways. I don't know exactly what the right way is. I mean, my opponent's dead next turn, so actually super doesn't matter. If they tap out to do anything, they're just dead. Right. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna counterspell this, I guess. Or I could just let it happen. Because who cares? Wait, Path to Exile. I'll force my opponent to use right. Okay, there we go. So 2-0 first match.